We're live.
And we're live. Sylvia!
Kristan!
Oh, thank you for doing this. What time is it in the Netherlands?
Oh, good question. It's 6:30 p.m.
Okay. Awesome. Well, with where I am, it's about 9:30 a.m. And I'm just so happy to have you here. I was actually scrolling through my photos recently because my younger son is graduating high school and I was putting together a poster board and I found pictures of me and you over the years at the Omega Institute in upstate New York, where we're headed back again in August. And how many times have you been to Omega to do the week-long shadow workshop?
This will be my 4th time.
Wow.
Yeah. For you, 7, I heard that recently, right?
This will be the 7th time. 2 of those were at Ojai. Yeah. So this is the 5th time at Omega. And it's so special, but let me just, we can talk more about that, but let me introduce you to my audience. So Sylvia is a brilliant coach and the founder of the State Shift Institute in the Netherlands. You most recently created a brilliant deck that I want to hear you talk about a little bit. But basically, we met each other through the work of Phil Stutz and Barry Michaels, the tools, and I know you have a lot of other influences as well. But in a nutshell, your emphasis and raison d'etre in life is to help people really tap into and realize their fullest potential. And you're incredibly effective at doing that. You train coaches. The Institute is really dedicated to helping people learn to shift their state again so they can fully express themselves authentically, live all out, be their magnetic selves. But you also have a real passion for training coaches so that you can reach as many people as possible. And so I just, I've gotten to be in orbit with you over the years and receive, the power of just your presence and your work and be inspired by you. And I'm so excited to get to talk to you today about a subject we both love dearly.
Thank you so much. And can I just have you with me if I have to introduce myself somewhere?
Absolutely. Yes. And you can just hand people this video that will live on forever.
Thank you.
I speak the truth.
Thank you.
The truth. So, I thought if you want to, before we dive into a conversation, of course, I want to ask you what brought you to this work and, what kind of gains you've realized personally from working with your shadow and all kinds of, questions up my sleeve for you. But you did share before we started the conversation offline that you have like a language shadow, that comes up for you when you get into a public conversation like this. Is that am I saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to demonstrate a little shadow work, share, with people who aren't familiar with this work? Should we just model it a little bit? You open to that?
Yeah. Are you going to lead?
Yeah, I will lead. So let's just, when we close our eyes, we automatically get access to the interior world. So I invite you. And if anybody wants to follow along who might be listening in or listens to this later, just know that as soon as you close your eyes, you have access to this vast interior landscape, which is a world unto itself. And there's intelligence in here. And part of the intelligence comes in the form of these shadows. And so, Sylvia, you mentioned that you have a shadow who, I'm going to put my words to it, but you'll clarify, maybe feels insecurity come up, maybe inferiority around language, speaking English to an English-speaking audience. Tell me a little bit about this shadow.
Yeah. It's the worry that I will be able to express myself correctly in what I mean when I want to go into this conversation with you. But I have to say already, indeed, when you, Kristan, there's always something magic happening when you are talking, because I'm already with her And yeah, she just wants to be acknowledged. That sometimes it is challenging to express myself in not my motherly tongue, to say it like that, and that's also okay because I always manage with it. Me and my shadows always manage with it. So yeah.
And so it sounds like just the act of recognizing her and bringing attention, like a kind attention to her, created some relaxation in your nervous system. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. And again, for people unfamiliar, would you be willing to share with us what this shadow is like what she looks like, or how old she is, or where you find her? Are there any details like that?
Yeah, this is like this insecure 19-year-old girl. That felt that she never belonged somewhere with other people. She had it tough at school. She was bullied. She grew up with an alcoholic mom. Her father just passed away. And she always had the feeling, and it was not like it was so clearly stated, but the feeling was there from, especially from her mother, that she was not smart enough. So also with the language thing, there's a thing like, oh, if I can't express myself fully, people must think that I'm stupid, and that's something that I can't permit myself. It's I have to hide that. I have to try to look better, to pretend that I understand everything. So that was what this shadow was feeling. And it has changed over the years in working with her. Indeed, what you just said, just already being present, acknowledge her, has been already the biggest part. But please continue in what you would like to share, because she's listening.
It's so incredible how these kind of alter ego parts, these shadows, are very real inside of us, but we forget about them. So what you described is really rich, and thank you for sharing her with us, and kind of giving us a window into her and how she was formed. So that 19-year-old girl, I was going to put it back on you. What do you want to say to her going into this conversation?
That she's so welcome here. Yeah. And that I can't, that I actually can't do it without her. That I've tried in the past, before doing this work, to push her away, to look smarter, to try to get in a better, to express myself better, like to hide it. And now it's actually, it's happy that she's happy that she's here, and that I actually welcome her. And also I'm okay with, expressing myself in my own way, our own way, sorry, together.
Yeah, so I kind of hear what I would call a little bit of an amends to her, which is you as the ego acknowledging to her, my habit has been over the course of our life to hide you because I'm afraid that, that admitting you, let alone exposing you, would bring judgment. And in a way, when I do that, when I hide you, what I'm really saying is I care more about what other people think than us being us. And so I'm sorry I did that. It was my best, kind of coping strategy until I understood that you are not a liability. And I will continue to practice really bringing you forward and growing our bond and our relationship. Things go better when we are united. And so the last thing I would say and invite you to say to her, Sylvia, and this is also kind of a teaching moment for people, anybody listening in, is that we all have the natural inclination is to hide the shadow. We created a shadow because we were afraid that it was the part of us that would cause shame or judgment or rejection. So of course, naturally, as egos, we want to hide the automatic reflexes to hide that part. come to find out we're kind of at war, we're split from ourselves, we're actually withholding parts of ourselves, the best part. Everything goes better when we bring the shadow in, but that doesn't come naturally after a lifetime of othering parts of ourselves, rejecting, suppressing, denying. So it's an act of faith, especially in the beginning of shadow work for people. You have a lot of experience, so you already know that everything will go better if you invite her forward into the foreground of your consciousness as we enter into the conversation. You know that. You have a lot of experience and reference points that the worst doesn't happen. But a lot of people, I mean, we don't know that at the beginning of shadow work. So what I want to invite, I want to model with you is, and invite other people to practice. And I think of this as software. In the beginning, you don't even have to believe what I'm about to tell you to tell your shadow. You don't have to believe it, but you have to practice it and it will become true. And you're going to say to your shadow, Sylvia, now let's center back on the 19-year-old who's afraid that if she is present, she might make you seem dumb. And you're afraid that if she's present, you guys might seem dumb or you might not get it right. And what you're going to say to her is, so long as we stay connected during this conversation, before, during, and after, so long as we use this conversation with Kristan as an opportunity to grow and practice our bond, nothing is more important to me. I care more about our relationship than anything outside, any result, any person's opinion. So long as we use this as an opportunity to grow our connection and practice our bond, I promise to consider it a success. You have my word. Let's go. Let's go together. Is there anything else you want to add that you want to tell her?
No, this is good. And she's happy.
That's great. So when you're ready, you guys.
Yeah. You didn't say to me that I had to get some tissues ready, Kristan.
You should. I thought you would know.
Yeah.
I want to take the opportunity to say, and this is me kind of maybe, lobbing up a point for you. I have a feeling you're going to have a lot to say about this, but, I'm really, you probably don't know about this, but, it's the NBA finals here in the United States and the Knicks are playing the Spurs and there's like a lot of energy around it. It's New York City. So there's just like a lot of energy. And the last game was an example of peak performance, poetry in motion, what our work can actually help people access that flow state. The Knicks were down, I think it was 28 or 29 points, and they came back, which is like, in our language, that kind of performance, number one, means you're keeping part X out. Right? The narrative of like, it's impossible and the game's over. And like, there's so much to just stay present. Like the level of psychological, high level performance that was on display in that game was exquisite. And then in the last second, I don't even know his name. I'm embarrassed that I don't even know the player's name. Tipped the ball into the basket, like 1.2 seconds left. And my point being the access to will force, to drive, to that energy, that resourceful spiritual energy that comes through shadow work was just on display. I don't know that this person, I know that Kobe Bryant had an alter ego self he called Black Mambo, I think Mamba. But so some athletes do practice a form of shadow work, but that kind of, when we ally with our shadows, a lot of people are afraid. The word shadow feels scary. It feels like it's going to be like scary, dark, painful work. But the promise of it is this synergy, this flow. And you just did a version of that, right? To get yourself into state, to be able to be present, which is how you're going to be the best, most magnetic version of you. We have to, because we're egos and we have all kinds of like self-consciousness and, negative thinking and all of that. Just the action of allying with our shadows puts us in that peak flow, forward motion, presence, like the highest state we humans are capable of. What do you want to say about that?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that sounds like a brilliant game. Apart from that, but also what you are saying, that we are scared for it. But I would say it's more painful not to do it, because you are never fully able to express your true self, because we are always afraid. Oh well, what will other people think? Right? It feels like they are deciding about us, like I had a Roman emperor, like this or this. And when you can connect to that, yeah, she's here, part of yourself, and like let her speak through you. It's not about anymore about serving people however you are, because you are expressing yourself fully, and that's such a gift. If you don't, there's always like, oh, please like me, that person is looking a little bit bored, or that one is like, I can just be. Yeah, and it's more hurtful not to do that. It's like, and also I think when a game like that, when you are, you have to like be full focus. In flow is also a kind of focus that you need, because if you let the anxiety get to you, you can't perform anymore. You can't express yourself anymore, because again, it's about, I like what always Phil also says. It brings you also in that state, like, of out of ego, in connection, and in the state of, I just work here, I do my job, I fulfill my mission.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think what I hear you saying is that, again, kind of like the natural default mode of us human beings and egos is to care more about what other people think and results. And we get so hooked into that we're not just present, doing, as Phil says, the work that we're here to do. But also, another one of his great phrases is like in outflow, like we're really here to give, to participate and give of ourselves freely and wholly. But that doesn't come easy, because the world, again, is, we want things, and then we're afraid of judgment. And so that stuff takes up so much psychic energy and space that we're not doing the very simple thing, which kind of makes everything go better, which is just being here, being present. And shadow work gets people into that state. Yeah.
Yeah, and I find it interesting what you are saying, because you were saying, like, people have that naturally. I would also say, well, partially yes, but it's also, we learned that also from our caretakers, like, hey, how we have to behave and such. Because if you look at little children, they don't give a shit how people are, can I say that? Sorry. How people are expressing, or how they ourselves are expressing themselves, right? If they want to go do cartwheels all day, it's, they don't like, oh, what will people think when I do a card? I know, I just do that. But until we learn, no, behave. You have to sit quietly. You have to do this. You have to do that. And I think that's what we are losing to really, that's childly, expression.
Yeah, beautifully said. And so, what would you say has been the greatest gain for you from finding a way to connect with your shadow and your shadows?
Yeah, well, where to start? Because I had so many gains from connecting to my shadows. It's at a certain point, it's I have several, became my inner mentors who guide me through life in why I'm who I am and why I am here. And for instance, 10 years ago now, if I wouldn't have discovered, or the tools that would have found me, I would still be in a job that was not fulfilling. I would never had the guts to quit it, to get a degree, to write books, to start my own coaching practice, to quit alcohol, to leave a relationship that was already not dead for a long time, in all honesty. And that's something. If I wouldn't have my shadow, I was like, oh no, writing books, who do you think you are? Quitting your job, this is safe, stay here, you have a good salary, you have a good car, and blah, blah, blah. And taking care of yourself, that's egoistical, you have to stay, and you have to put everything in it until your kid leaves the house. And at a certain point, and it's not about it's the opposite of being egoistical. It's like in deep connection and faith, connected to something, because I believe that the shadows are connected to something bigger than ourselves, and that there is this plan, and it's not like this is exactly the plan for you. We have our willpower, but the direction we want you to go, where we are here as souls at this beautiful planet to evolve. And you can't evolve when you are playing it safe, when you are staying in your comfort zone or safety zone, like Phil would call it now. Nothing ever happens there. So we need the pain, the resistance, and the beautiful thing is that the shadow is an ally. She or he is with you and leading you on that path.
It's powerful. And so, what I hear you saying is a function of finding your shadow, relating to it, has opened up, literally given you access to the clarity about what you want, like the direction, as you said, like, oh, this is what is authentic and the direction I should be going in, right? If I don't want to get to my deathbed and have a lot of regret, that's always the truth, right? Like so your shadow work has given you access to who you really are, the clarity to know and perceive that's yes, that's no, that's it from the inside out, not based on an algorithm of what we're doing, right? But also the courage and the energy to go after it, it sounds like, yeah?
Yeah, and not only that, it's also because what I also see, and what I also see you probably as well with clients or friends, then when they think about something, they are going to ask for advice, right? You go to another friend or you see a therapist or a coach, what to do, right? So but the thing is, they can help you, guide you, and if they are good friends, they ask you questions instead of putting their opinions on them, because the problem is with other people's opinions, they see the world from their lenses, right? From their perspective, and they are not you. And the best inner advisor that you have, the inner mentor is within, is here. But we are so stuck in our heads, right? Like when we think about something like, oh, I have to make a list with pros and cons, and what does that person have to say? What would you do? What would you do? And they're like, oh, doubt. And this gives, when you really take the leap of faith to trust your shadow on what it has to tell you, it's just magic can unfold. And I'm not exaggerating here or something. It's the absolute truth, but you have to take that leap of faith without being sure. Seeing it as a beautiful experiment, but I had only good things from it, from connecting to my shadow and following what she is guiding me towards.
Yeah, I love, sorry.
No, that was it.
I love the mentor. I love the inner board of directors, the consigliere. It's like to have that relationship and a way to access it. I mean, I think our work really operationalizes access to that part. So it's not just like an instinct, an insight, an intuition. It's not happenstance. It's really practiced, and the more we focus on it with attention and bring that imagination into it, it becomes a real relationship that pays dividends, is what I hear you say. So the good news is, I know that you and I couldn't feel as strongly as we do about it if we didn't practice it ourselves. But you are in a unique position where now you've guided thousands of people back to this wisdom intelligence, specifically through this practice, right? There's a lot of roads that lead to Rome. Shadow work, I think you and I love because of all the modalities. This is very efficient work. It's very intuitive. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, and so can you speak to that a little bit? Either like what it's like to get to, and maybe even, some of your favorite stories or a story, but just what you can share with people who might feel insecure about, like, wait, I can really talk to this part of myself and follow it. Like, what can you offer people based on the thousands of hours and people you've stewarded through the process?
Yeah. Oh, I find it a challenging question. What helps me, let's say it like this, also riding with my shadow, like putting and what I see also with clients as well, because the thing is that in our heads, it can get complicated, right? Part X, our inner saboteur, also is always blah, 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 blah in our heads. So it's in the beginning when you are doing this is challenging. Okay, which voice am I actually listening to? And knowing that it's and what I always loved also learning from you, that it's not always a voice, right? It's an insight. It speaks to insights, ideas, images. What eyes are you using? Yeah. It's but when you sit and really take the time for it, because that's the thing, we try something, doesn't work. You have to, in the beginning, it takes more effort, but it pays off. I had to sit down, and what I do, I have always the most beautiful booklets, and writing with her. I have a question in my mind, like, okay, should I do something? Should I go to the US to the Omega workshop, for instance? And I'm going to sit and connect to her. So what you do is all the doubts that you feel, that you pick that up from your physical or energetical body, what you want to name it, and mold from that doubt for the substance that you are putting in front of you, a figure with a head and a body, and just speaking with it, asking questions, waiting for answers, and feeling. And sometimes it's also that insight, like I had sometimes that my shadow said nothing also about going once to Austin, and she was standing here like, you have to go. And I meet the love of my life there. And I didn't know why I had to go, but I knew I had to go there. And sometimes you can't explain it, but I have never gone wrong. And even when something happened that I didn't want to, I learned so much from it. Yeah, it's not always about getting what you want. It's about getting what you need to evolve as a soul. And that's worth the effort to sit with it. And also really again emphasizing also inviting people to come to Omega and do this work for a few days. I can only tell you how many, and that's why this is the 4th time that I'm going. And that's not because I still not get it, because you evolve and you get better at it. You get a better, more clear connection, because that is what we are doing. We are building that connection with the unconscious. So it can come in the conscious, and we can express, we can connect, we can feel also, and that's the other biggest advantage from is the confidence that you are worthy, you are valuable, you are worthy to be here. It's also the gateway to self-love. I don't know. There was a long answer to your question. Did you get anything?
I love it. No, no, so much. And I mean, even just the small, invitation to people that writing, journaling can be a really effective way to just bring the communication alive. Like what I really hear you saying is we're opening a channel of communication when you do shadow work, and you're opening a line of communication to your unconscious, which is where the shadow lives. And it's a big upside of the work. So yes, you go in and you find, like you modeled so beautifully. I have this 19-year-old who learned that if she doesn't speak English, she's dumb. But just by being with her and connecting with her and holding that image with you, talking to her, asking her questions, the side effect, the positive side effect is that you get access to all of this, the intelligence of the unconscious. Yeah. And you said, I call it the eyes, like the letter I. How does the shadow speak? It speaks in insight, instinct, intuition, impulse, ideas, images, imagination. And we start getting all of this information. And it's intelligence. It's a dimension of our own intelligence that we just aren't taught in 2026 and modern times to, relate to. And we have more than a left brain. This is the right brain. This is the unconscious. And it is not only reliable, which is what I hear you saying, it's incredibly trustworthy, but we have to bring the relationship alive. We have to practice it. And the way you practice it, it's all neural pathways. We're paving neural pathways, a road, a channel of communication with a part of us that we just never it's all, it's a muscle we never flexed because our culture doesn't teach us how to, other than like artists, or like, inventors. Some people naturally have kind of trust in this dimension of their own intelligence. Shadow work gives you a way to just, consistently, habitually partner with that part of your own intelligence. I always say you're sitting on a gold mine, right?
Yeah, I
So,
love this phrase.
but journaling is a great way to do it. That was my long way of saying you can just like ask questions. Once you have an image of your shadow, trust the process, start talking to it, ask questions, ask and you shall receive. It's a big feedback loop. So are there any, any stories come to mind from people that you've taught this work who have had to go through the process of kind of like trusting it and then had kind of their own, payoffs or rewards from it that you want to share? No pressure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, there are many, but also to keep it also more reachable. Also, when you are in doubt about, hey, I have many clients who are in a job that they don't like anymore. Also, it's always you attract people who have the same thing like you used to have, right? And they are so much in doubt, like the safety thing is such a big thing, and to leave that. And when they connect to their shadow and also get that feeling like, yeah, but this is something I need to do, and then feeling that energy also rise up, like they feel alive. It's what I also like with the book Coming Alive. Like it's if you don't connect to it and you try to live from here, from this, what is just a computer, the sum of our lived experiences, to say it like that, and what is registered here. And there's here this whole, indeed, universe that you can connect to. It brings it to such a different ball game to make certain choices in your life. And I see that with clients, but also on parts where, because this is a simpler example, but I have also examples from people who have tough childhoods, right? Who have pushed away a part of themselves because it has been rejected, it has been bullied or abused even, or whatever has happened, to reconnect to it, and to bring it in their lives again. And it's like, they feel the liberation, the freedom of their full selves. Yeah, because you can't live a full life when there's a part of yourself that you're rejecting. Because it's not good, it's bad, it shouldn't be, or it's something happened to it, and I don't want to experience that anymore. And it's not about the re-injury of reliving it again, but to acknowledge it. I did experience that, we did experience that, it was a tough time, an awful time, but I'm now here for you. I'm being the parent or the caretaker that you never had, the friend that you never had. And it brings a whole new dimension within you. It's
No, and it feels better. Yeah.
Yeah, you feel truly you, because I think it's the most challenging. No, not the question, but the answer to it. Who are you? Who are you really? Yeah, and name, where I live, partner, work, experiences. I am the consciousness that is living inside of this body. And when you can connect to all the parts of it, and never done, it's a shadow work, like you always say, it's forever work. But it deepens your life. It deepens who you are. You find, you find your true self.
Yeah. I love naming out loud that the number 1 through 3 regret of the dying, as reported by people who stored people at death. So this is research based, but it's reported as either the number 1, 2, or 3 regret of the dying, but it's a top regret is not having lived true to themselves. Right? I lived my life based on what other people wanted, needed, expected, which again is, we learn, you said it, it's like the program we evolve, create a program to stay safe, to belong, but then we're split off from parts of our self, we become this performative self, this safe self, and we're at odds with parts of ourselves, and it doesn't feel good. We're not truly ourselves, and we're not fully alive. And so it sounds like, again, that's what I hear you saying, like as someone in the privileged position, and I feel this way too, of getting to hold space for people and help them, through this practice, which is very simple. It isn't 20 years of talking about the past and rehashing every bad thing. I forget how you said it. I like how you said it. It's not to like relive the trauma or to get focused on it. It's actually just to reunite with a lost, abandoned part of yourself. And I think people are so afraid it's going to feel bad, and I don't want to be a victim, but it's the opposite of that.
Yes.
It's like that. I always think of it as a homecoming. It's like, and then it feels so good so fast, and you become liberated, and more alive, more yourself. It feels really, really, really good. I feel like that's, the big reveal, as my Substack is called, of shadow work, is that it's efficient and it feels good. It's joyful.
Yeah. And the thing is also, when you don't do that, we always need, when there's no connection, and how you do it is a different story. We do it with shadow work, which I find brilliant, obviously, to work with that. But if you don't, you will always try to get what you lack out of the outside world. Someone has to fix me. I need a new relationship so I feel better. I need food. I need stuff. I need money. I need status. I need looks. If I have this, then I'll be okay. And I think many of us have tried that for many years, me included. And until at a certain point you discover, it's I can't find it anywhere. No matter what I try, I can go again for the next. But yeah, it's like this bottomless well, to say it like that. And when you connect to your shadow, that's where you do the inner healing on the parts where you lacked love, acknowledgement, whatever the thing is that you have missed, because we all do miss things or have experienced small, big trauma, or everything in our own perspective. But when we store that inside us and we do not connect to it, there's this energy. There's always something off.
Yes.
Do you recognize and relate to that? Like this also, I don't know what it is. I just can't, and that's how many people live a life of the living dead. And I'm sorry I'm saying it like that, but just going from event to event, from weekend to weekend, from thing to thing, and nothing really fulfills them. How much money they get, how many marriages, nothing is enough anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, beautifully said. I mean, it's the shadow, having a shadow and not knowing you have a shadow, a part of you that you've forgotten, that you abandoned, that you reject inside of you, is that feeling of something's wrong, or I carry a stain, or how do other people have it figured out, but I don't. There's always that low grade sense of like kind of emptiness or imposter or unworthiness. And we're constantly, it's such a beautiful point you're making, that to fill that void created by our shadow that we're not even aware we have, we go trying to, get things to solve it for us, solve the bad feeling.
Yes.
Like the natural effect. And it's, again, just such a joy to watch people, find these parts of themselves, realize it's not that hard, and then start to feel full from the inside out. And I don't know if you observe this, but I absolutely observe that when people find these parts and start partnering with them, right? Like, okay, this gives me a way to lead my life from the inside out, like by just communicating with them and asking, as you again beautifully demonstrated, like, what do you want today? What makes this day, you don't want to be at this job anymore? Let me listen to that. I'm not ready to take a risk on leaving the job, but what's something I can do, today to start practicing living in harmony with you, living in alignment? When people find their shadows and then start partnering and actioning on behalf of their shadows, the addictions and the dependencies go way down.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I've experienced that for myself, because the thing is, what I also was numbing, like loneliness, and connecting to the lonely part, the lonely shadow, and going through rock bottom. Made it, I never feel lonely again, because I know there's always that shadow that I can connect to. And it's not like, oh, I don't need people or something. That's not true. But you can give yourself what you're needing without, somebody has to save me. Who can I call? Who can sit with me? So I have to don't do it. Or how can I distract me from me? Right? And you can let that go. And what I also find beautiful once you get to shadow work, because now we are going in deep, Kristan. It sounds like a lot of work, but in the beginning, it takes some time to get to know your shadow. But at a certain point, also like what I work with the cards, is that you can connect on a day and just have a small check-in while brushing your teeth. How can I serve you? What do you need today? And sometimes it's, I'm already happy you're here. I just want a hug. Or, it's like with greeting a child in you, like just acknowledge, I see you, I acknowledge you. I'm good. I'm already, that's just, it can be in the snap of a finger. It's done. Also with, now I'm on it, right? It's not me speaking anymore. My ego is somewhere there, and the shadow can take over, speak through me, and somehow, when you get in that flow state, something makes sense that you are saying, right? It's like you can be in that expressive mode, and that's such a I think we have testified for shadow work. I can't state that enough, how helpful and liberating it is. And the wonderful thing is that people also see, what are you doing? And how can I get that too?
Yeah. Well, what you're saying so beautifully is that you stop kind of being a black hole. I think people don't realize, but again, when you have these, parts of you hidden inside of you in the dark, it's what you said, you're kind of using the world. You don't realize it's very vampire energy. It's like,
misusing.
It's using and
misusing the world.
Using.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And well, it's just a misunderstanding, right? I don't think nobody recognizes they're doing it. But when you, again, have a way to practice finding these parts and relating to them, and whatever we pay attention to grows, right? Everything grows. So you're describing in the beginning of shadow work, it's like you're watering a little plant inside of you. But the more you relate to it, and even if you don't believe in it, you have to suspend your disbelief, but you practice this, just like at the gym, whatever we pay attention to and we flex, we find, we grow. This relationship becomes very real, sentient, alive. You stop feeling lonely, you stop feeling empty. And then what happens is you go into the world intact, not unconsciously, vampire and looking and needing and hoping people are going to fill you, or you complete me, or, I'm going to get to some bench, like you stop being that. And then that's why this work, restores magnetism. Like that is a magnetic version of being human, is when you're whole and you're intact and you have a way to hold that and carry that and practice it, be it. You just naturally, you're a resource versus a black hole. And people want to be around that. That is an attractive energy, and so, and it leads to all kinds of things. So we've covered a lot of bases. I want to ask you, because we have to wrap up in a few minutes. Tell us about the deck. Show us the card. What are you talking about? Your shadows made you create this deck.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's absolutely. Because it was, a lot of work, but so this is the deck, let's keep it upside down, the state shift method. And what I like to do is, and sometimes there's a booklet with it that you can use for different categories that you are, when you are suffering from procrastination or self-doubt or jealousy or whatever the negative thinking, whatever your thing is. There are 10 categories. But what I also like to do sometimes is just checking in. And now we can do that for the Substack group that is here. And I just shuffle and I just see what card the universe wants to have for people. And I check for, or it falls out, or my shadow. says something, but now there were 5, so that was a little bit much. But I would say I pick up the upper one, and this is also a shadow card, and that's, I call it the vow. So it's when you feel that you need to do something. I always like to do it like this, because else it can be a bit overwhelming. I need to do something. I feel that there is something that I need to pick up. And there is something that I'm procrastinating on, that I'm in doubt about. I promised myself this year I would take care of myself, eat healthy, start write that book, start that business, go towards that guy or girl that I like, but I didn't. Yeah, and so what you do when you connect to your shadow in the second step, and you divide also, the goal, the thing that you want to do in smaller steps. So what is one small step that you can do today? So checking in with your shadow. So, and doing that goal, living a healthy life is a big thing. But how can I divide that in smaller steps? What's the first thing that I can do today? And start to have one pastry less. One piece, no sugar in your tea for 1 cup. Just a small thing. That's just the thing that pops up for me. And what you do is that you also check, like, okay, when are we going to do this? Now, not later. Your shadow once gives you the nudge to actually do that. If you listen to that, it's your inner mentor, like we spoke about before, and that's how you feel a lot of strength. In the end, you have that energy to move forward. It's something that we by ourselves don't have, because our part X will always come up with excuses. Not today. You're already so hard on yourself. Let's do something else. You already worked so hard, or you did so many things. Tomorrow we'll do it. And and this gives you like the small step, like the state shift method is determining your state. That's step 1. Making the shift. That's what's on the card. Taking an action step, and an action can also be an inner action. To, for example, let go. To let go of rumination. To take a step behind the thoughts that you have, instead of like getting sucked in it. So there are 52 cards in the deck, 1 for every week, because you can use them also for 52 years. Yeah, just kidding. But it's that's how it came to me. 52 cards, to help people with on pretty much every mental and energetical problem that we have, that we can be stuck on. And I'm very glad that my shadow made me create it, because it's helping me at the moment as well. It's a part of my ritual to pull a card in the morning and keep that in front of me for the whole day, and do that state shift several times. And that's how you train it, because that's the thing that's the thing that I had a problem, but to keep it going, right? You have to keep training. You have to keep going to the gym. But the gym is something that we are reminded of by our body, and our inner training is something that's like very subtle. It's away, and this is your reminder, because you put it somewhere where you can see it. There's a beautiful block with it to remind you, to keep it inside, and that's hopefully will help people with this.
I love it. I'm so glad you created it. And is there a booklet that describes what each card is showing? Yeah,
there's a booklet. Yeah, so now I did it. You can do it. You can work with the illustrations. So what happens when you're looking at it? There are audios, there are lessons with it. There's a monthly call to guide you through it. So there's everything, to get and keep you going, and that's for me also. That's why I created all of this. I don't want this something to end up in a drawer, like, oh, nice, I use it 3 times, and I have unfortunately decks like that. This is a serious method for the rest of your life. And like shadow work, tools work, state shift work, it is forever work, and it pays off. But we have to keep ourselves in training. It doesn't stay by itself. It's not like, you're healed, you're done. No. And it's also the beautiful thing of it, that there's no limitation on how good you can get at this, right? On what your potential is. Like we learned also from Phil and Barry, it's infinite. How cool is that? There's no dare there. Let's see how far I can come. What else can I do? Can I publish another book or help more people? Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's so exciting. And I love that point, and I hear Phil in my head, the hardest part of the tools is using the tools, right? Like it is, I think, the deck helps people stay focused and keep up the practice, but it also normalizes it, right? Just like having a physical body, you can't, wake up and still be benefiting maybe a little bit from yesterday's gym, but you got to keep going. It's the same psycho spiritually, right? We have to stay focused, but when we do, it just takes very little, like you said, little action steps yield so much, and then it's cumulative. So thank you for creating something that helps us stay tuned in, because it's harder to stay tuned into the interior world for most people, because this world feels more real and is so compelling and distracting. And is it on Amazon? I don't have mine yet, so I've got to get it.
I'm giving yours personally in New York, Kristan. What do you think? Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's only on my website, sylviaholtslag.nl now. That's where people can get it. But there was one thing I wanted to add on what you were saying. Like, everybody understands that you have to brush your teeth twice. It's your inner hygiene. Right? That's what we are doing here. And you can even put it next to your toothbrush as a reminder, because that is something, if this, then that is what you are doing anyway. So, and it takes you a few minutes per day, and it makes, and when you compound that, it sounds like a little, but try not brushing your teeth for a month and we'll see what they look like. Well, this is the same.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I think, just jumping on that point, I just always want to emphasize a little goes a long way. It is like brushing your teeth. I think that's one of my big passions, having been trained, as a more classical psychotherapist. I think the whole mythology, of psychotherapy or therapy or traditional talk therapy is like a lot of time, a lot of labor. This is like, I think the shift in our work is if you do a little bit every day, and yes, there's more effort in the beginning, especially if you're going to have a shadow practice, you're reprogramming your brain. It's a different mindset. It's a shift. But then once you've done it, and then you keep practicing it, like brushing your teeth and with cards, it isn't really that hard. It's very little goes a long way. So let's finish by talking about, we are going to be in upstate New York in Rhinebeck, August 9th through the 14th. We get to do a week-long workshop in the collective. And there's really, you and I talk to people individually a lot. I know you do some groups, I do some groups, but to be in person with other people practicing this work is, in my experience, accelerating and amplifying in ways that are like, the whole is so much greater than the sum of the parts. And it's joyful, and it's so many things. What would you say to people would be the reason to trek yourself out to upstate New York?
Because you can do so much. If this did something to you already while you are listening to it, imagine what it will do when you come for a whole week. For me, it was like I came out of a different person with new friends. What is also what I like, because not everybody is doing this yet. Working on that to get more people doing this work. But it can be like a bit like unfamiliar. Am I doing it right? And soaking yourself under with other people who are also willing to put their masks down and show their most vulnerable selves. And being real, immediately creates connection. And that's what I always love. It's not just your brilliant teachings, because they are, Kristan, but also being together in this container the whole week and not in a real container, because it's such a beautiful place as well. It's very healing. You go to your yoga in the morning or your meditation, and then going into this, it's like you come back out of it like it's the true magic, what Phil would call it. The connectedness to yourself, but also to keep it going afterwards makes it so much more rich, dense. I have done many studies, and courses on, yeah, but the weeks at Omega have always enriched my life like no several year course or study could ever do, because you are practicing. It's not you can read another book, but it's about doing the work together.
Yeah. And we really do amplify, accelerate each other. There's something so beneficial when people come in their authenticity, you know, like you said, with the mask down. Not the whole point is not to be hiding. That's the metric of success. That's getting positively reinforced. So there's a lot of safety, there's a lot of permission. And then you get to learn, you get to see yourself through other people's experience and stories in a way that just, you know, if you want to expand and you want to live your potential, you know, you get to absorb all of this outside data, and it really is like, you know, a springboard. It just sets you up for, at least for me, I feel the same way. I get like really nourished during that week, and then I can go out and be fearless and, you know, and do what I'm here to do. So yeah, I hope people, if they're sparked by this, come join us. We have such a huge amount of fun. It's beautiful. I can't wait to see you there and get a new picture from this year. I've got to send you our like little, you know.
I will put you on my neck.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah, because that's right. Because you're also doing the Spartan race. Anyway, that's a story for another day.
Yes.
Super strong mentally, physically. Thank you for having this conversation with me. So much fun. And let's do it again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And, you know, I wouldn't have gotten this far thanks also to you as my coach. And yeah, our work together, it's just has been brilliant. So thank you for this opportunity. And I hope everybody who's looking, come.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yes. Amen.
Yes.
All right. More soon.
Thank you, Kristan.
Have a good
And thank you all who's watching. Bye.